Singapore 345, wind 250 degrees, 2 knots, runway 16, clear for takeoff.
Runway 16, clear for takeoff, Singapore 345.
For our next speaker, we have Mr. Mehul Shukla. He's joining us from Abu Dhabi. And Mehul has been an ace engineer for many years. He will explain to you exactly where he has worked. But he is licensed and certified on rotary as well as fixed wing airplanes. So I leave the floor to Mr. Mehul Shukla. Please come out of mute and there you go. You are on mute, Mehul. Yeah.
There I am. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm used to Zoom, but not Google Meet. But anyway, I made it. I'm an engineer, by the way, so I should be able to make it. Anyway, hi guys. Nice to be on board. I'm so happy to speak to you guys. It just seems like yesterday that I was one of you, and probably I see all the pictures. I see a little bit of me in all of you. And don't go by the color of my hair. It's just that I'm not dyed. So otherwise, probably I look as young as you guys. My son calls it salt and pepper cut, by the way. Anyway, so we engineers are actually not good at speeches. We are just good at like nuts, bolts, screws, and washers. You know, that's all we think about all day. But anyway, I'll give it my try. For me, it's been more than 30 years that I have been in aviation, and this was in 1989 to 92 that I did this course, and that was just the basic. And then we started. I started working as an apprentice in a fixed wing company, a small company with Beechcraft, and that lasted for like 10 years. And I got all my licenses, and then I switched over to rotary wing for some reason. And then I was working on the Bells 212, 412, and another 10, 12 years there. And then I got an opportunity to work in Sky Shuttle helicopters, Macau. That lasted about 5 years. And since last 3 years, I'm working with Abu Dhabi Aviation on offshore helicopters. That's the basic introduction I can give you. Now, for you guys, for all the engineers that are on this, who are going to do your licensing system, I have some pointers for you guys for what I've learned or what I missed at that time. And this field which you have chosen is really fascinating. I mean, that's just in a mild way of saying it. Think about it, that you will be encompassing all different fields like chemical, electrical, electronics, and everything clubbed into one. The journey ahead is hard, but it can be done. You know, this aviation is a cycle. It has its ups and downs. Now we know what's happened with COVID and what's happening around the world. But you need to be really patient. Do not be disappointed. And I know how, as you enter into this and you take a decision to get into this course and become an engineer, it looked all nice and glamorous, you know, aircraft flying and engineering, and it looks so nice. But it has its ups and downs. So be patient. Just give it your best shot for this basic engineering, what you're doing. What you're going to learn now in these years now is your basic knowledge. And if your fundamentals are strong, then let there be any complications further down the line. If your basics are really strong, then it'll be so easy to deal with. So give this your best shot. These are the most important years of your life. This will make you what you are later on in life. This I have realized now. Anyway, so about your courses and modules, I understand that you will be appearing for your DGCA Part 66 licenses. Now, I know there are 15 or 16 modules to study. I have one suggestion, that there is something, if you guys are not aware of, I would like to just brief you on the EASA Part 66 license. This DGCA Part 66 license, which has come in now a few years ago, is based copies like a copy paste from EASA Part 66 license, which is recognized all over the world. Since you all are already studying for your DGCA Part 66 license, I would suggest in parallel. Please attempt this YASA Part 66 license as well. It's the same study, same syllabus. There are some Part 147 schools which on invitation visit India and do these courses, and they are YASA certified. So by the time you pass out from this course, from your whatever engineering that you're doing now, and you might have both, like you can have a YASA Part 66 modules cleared as well. These modules are valid for 10 years. They don't lapse for 10 years. So further down the line, once you get into the industry, once you get your foot into the door and you have this basic rating already, you would have passed these modules. You might get a chance to work abroad or work in any other organization around the world, and you are already ready for it. So that is one advice I would like to give you. Just keep this in mind. Now, how to study? Think about it. You have a pile of books, so many notes. How are you going to do this? How are you going to accomplish all this in this short period of 3 or 4 years that you're going to be in this institute? How are you going to do it? Well, there's something called group study. And this worked very well for us in the flight club where I studied. I would suggest among you guys, make different groups. It makes a big difference when a group studies as a whole or you study individually. You will learn much more quicker, and you will be able to accomplish much more in short period of time. So make groups among yourselves, okay? And have debates. Yeah, you have these smartphones with WhatsApp groups. Make groups and just have debates. Use technology, you know. So that is one. Secondly, your basis of studies should be your syllabus. Now your syllabus lists down this topic. Okay, you'll have a basic syllabus. I'm sure it's there on the DGCA website or YASA website, CA International website. So you will have lots of books and lots of notes, and everything is jumbled up, all the information. I suggest you read topic by topic, not book by book. That is the only way you will be able to cover everything. Because otherwise you will be confused. What to study, when to study, how to study. So select, say, 1 week I'm going to do regulation. 1 week I'm going to do hydraulics. 1 week I'm going to study basic electronics. And make groups among yourselves and just discuss among yourselves what you learn. Don't keep it to yourself, because you will learn much more by sharing the knowledge. So don't go book by book, go topic by topic. And how do you get more knowledge? I don't know about the library that you have there in the institute, but you will have a list of books recommended. For God's sake, get all the books that you can. Beg, borrow, steal, but don't get caught. Beg, borrow, steal. There's a wonderful resource called betterworldbooks.com. Okay, they ship it free. They are used books. There are some reference books are very, very expensive. So you go and log onto that website. There must be other websites, but I found this very helpful. Betterworldbooks.com, and they'll ship it free for you. And these are all used books, so they're cheaper than buying original paperbacks. So that is one about getting knowledge. And try to be inquisitive. Like, just make technical knowledge your way of life, no matter what you do. Let us say you all must be having vehicles, right? Like cars, bikes, or whatever, two-wheelers. So when you feel a tire pressure, look at the tire. There are some markings, 2-ply rating, 3-ply rating. Ask yourself, be your own teacher. What does this mean? Let me find out. You know, just make that knowledge, getting inquisitive, as your way of life. So let us say you're feeling tire pressure and you find some markings. So you will try to search search an answer for that. And by searching for something like a piece of knowledge, you will learn something more, like links. So from that is how you gain knowledge, and you know that's what you should do. Then there's another thing which I have learned is being internationally is we don't do a lot of DIY stuff in our homes, like do it yourself. We don't do that. घर में कभी the light is there's a bulb circuit breaker popped, you just call an electrician, or there's a tap leaking, you will just probably got a plumber. So try to fix it yourself. Because this is what I see when I work internationally. We Indians, what we lack is the actual performance, the hand skills. So this cannot be taught in a day. It comes, it takes a period of time, and then only if you practice it, you will get perfect at it. So in your summer vacation, try to do some trade courses. Like if you're into electronics, do some PCB repair courses or radio repair, or join some like welding, soldering classes, or something like that. That is how you will develop your hand skills. And also, I'm not sure about this institute, but how much of practical training is incorporated in the curriculum. But when we used to study, we used to have like a 3 months practical, 3 months theory, and we used to work in the engine shop, piston overhaul shop. So we used to learn all those skills. So see what you can do about that, and just keep on learning, keep at it, get yourself into the books, and that's about it. Any questions? Anybody wants to say something?
If anyone has any queries, can unmute yourself and ask to sir.
Excuse me, sir, I have a question.
Yes.
At this moment, does aviation industry see any signs of recovery from the pandemic?
That's a very generic question, but it all depends on what's going on with the COVID and the vaccine and all that stuff. But as I said, there is a cycle. This is a cycle, and there's always an ups and downs in this cycle. And you just need to be patient. And what I would suggest is, in India, what happens is, once you finish the course, the windows of opportunity are not as much as somebody who's in other parts of the world. So you need to grab an opportunity to get into no matter what you can, whether if it's a stores department or any department, whatever it is, and then base it from there. Try to excel in it. See what you can do, how you can grow. Like, even if something is not important, it may not seem important, like it's a qualification. Like you are a B1.3 engineer, you are basically working on aircrafts and engines and mechanical systems. Why not pursue some B2, like study some modules? It's just a conversion thing. So, you just be at it and do not bother about something which is beyond your control. Now, this question you asked is it's in no one's control. Nobody can control this. It's a worldwide phenomenon. So, I know you all are all apprehensive about what's going to happen, but that if you think more about it, and you're going to stress yourself more about it. I would suggest don't think about it. Just do what you're supposed to do now. Now is study time. Don't think about what's going to happen once you pass out, whether you'll have jobs or something. That will happen when it will happen. But here in aviation, you're here for good. It's a tight compartment. You being in aviation, you cannot think of any other trade after finishing this. So give this your best shot and do not think about what's in store for you in the future. Whatever has to happen will happen. So take the first opportunity that you get. Right now, you don't have choices. I'll tell you my personal experience. Like I passed out from this AME training school. There were no jobs. All my seniors were still as apprentices, just spending time, getting some experience. And then the private airlines happened, East-West Airlines. See, it was a cycle. Perseverance and patience, And now we look back and it was good, And we all got absorbed in the industry. So it's a cycle. So that is how it is. Right now, at that time, and even now when you guys pass out, you will not have much choices. Whatever comes to you, first grab that opportunity, get your foot in the door, and then try to excel. Don't leave at it, because aviation is such thing that you will be learning every day. You can never say I know everything. The day you say that, you stop growing. So that is how I got into this as an apprentice, and then there was no looking back. I was in this small company with Beechcraft. It was a very nice company. The Beechcrafts are nice machines, and it had all the complications which you would find in a bigger airplane. like pressurization system, pneumatics, hydraulics, autopilot, glass cockpit. And I was selected for my interview for Indian Airlines, but I declined because then I had a choice, and I asked myself, what do I like? Would I like to go to an airline and I'll not know much about the whole aircraft in no matter how many years I will work, such a big, vast thing, you know? But here I'm so happy working on this machine. I can work on all the systems, and I would probably know much more about the aircraft as a whole. So that was the choice I made. That's the choice I get, and you will also get those choices. Just be patient. So that is what it is. And further down the line, I stuck to it. And then we had some trade union issues there 10 years down the line. Then I took a pause and I thought to myself, what's happening now? What else can I do? I'm in my 30s. I'm still strong enough to explore. My window of opportunity was still there. See, as you grow, right now your window of opportunity is so much. But as you grow older, your window of opportunity gets narrower and narrower. But I was in my 30s. So I took that as an opportunity to change into something different where I could learn more and get myself more qualified. So I shifted to rotary wing because that was more challenging. So I wanted that mental challenge and I had choices. So that's what I'm trying to say is choices. It's all about choices. So that's how I shifted to rotary wing. So, and then there was no looking back. It was all well and good. And again, 7 or 8 years down the line, there was this point where I had to pause and think, what am I doing here? I have my licenses, I'm working here, I'm doing the same thing since 10 years, working on these machines. Oh, it had taken me to nice, good places on offshore rigs everywhere, had good fun. And that's when I did my EASA. Now, I had no need to do my EASA at that time. I was already a licensed engineer. And I had no intention of going abroad or working abroad. But with my own cost, I was the only guy in the company. I said, no, I would like to pursue this. Yeah, so like it makes myself more internationally qualified. So I did that. And then within 2 years, I shifted to another company. I was offered a job in Macau. Why? Because I had my EASA license. You guys have that opportunity to doing it right now. I did it much later in my life, but you guys can do it. Opportunity will come. You create, by qualifying yourself more, you create that window of opportunity for yourself where you will be sought after. You will be a little different from others. You will be, you'll be noticed. And that's what happened. So instead of worrying about what's going to happen and getting yourself demoralized, please do not. Let's not think about the future, which is beyond your capability. It's not in your hands. What you have to do is think about you, what you would want to do. You will want to create that window of opportunity for yourself.
Sure, so thank you, sir. Thank you so much for answering the question and for the stimulating speech that you have delivered to us.
Yeah, thank you.
Very, very nice, Mr. Mehul. It was very nice. What he's saying is known and unknown. What we know is what we need to do. What we know is also that it is cyclical.
There is another point which I would like to make. I mean, something which for me, if I talk about my experience, probably it will register more and it will appeal to this audience more. We're talking about gaining knowledge, being technical at all the time, seeking knowledge. So I had this passion when I was studying that somehow I like this electric stuff, electronics. Although I never got a chance. That was in my 20s when I was working for a Beechcraft company. I said it would be nice to get a little bit into avionics, but I never got a chance. But I was in Macau and I was in my 40s. See, think about it. I had that passion in my mind that I have to do this. And again, a couple of years down the line in Macau, I was again stagnant, thinking, what else can I do? See, constantly thinking, what else can I do? How can I get myself more qualified? You never know what's in store in the future. So I said, let me convert my B1.3 into B2. So I was in Macau and I appeared for this exam. I applied for it in Kuala Lumpur where they were conducting this exam. It was all self-study. I didn't join any classes. There was nothing like that. And there was this thing. I had a bank of questions. And there was one question while I was flying in AirAsia flight. there was one question which was nagging me. You know, in the toilets, Captain Rajesh, in the toilets there are these fire extinguishers, and they have these discharge indicators with black or white markings. When they are discharged, either it turns from black to white or white to black. I just couldn't get it. What was the right answer? And it was nagging me. I was just sitting in the passenger seat thinking, what is the answer to that question? I've read it. There were like 4,000 questions that I studied. Oh, it just did not leave my mind. Well, I'm in the aircraft. The best way to find out is go to visit the washroom. And that's what I did. I visited the washroom and I opened the cabinet and I looked at that fire extinguisher. I said, okay, that's what it is. So seek knowledge at any point of time. Don't give up. And this is how Rome was not built in a day. It will take years. But the thing is, you have to start now. Also, talking about knowledge, there are these lot of big magazines, free magazines. We used to get a paperback version. Now I think it's all digital. Aircraft maintenance technology, avionics, and aviation maintenance. Subscribe to them. Go online, subscribe for the digital version. It is free. So I would suggest you read this something extra knowledge. The thing is, you will have so much of knowledge to this. It's so much. How can you do it? No, cannot. So you need to make a filter in your mind. There's something called need to know, like their basics. What you all are studying now is need to know. You have to know. And there's something which is nice to know, something extra, and that is what will stand you out in the crowd. And that will come gradually. It cannot be, but you need to know the sources. The sources are these magazines. Another thing, I don't know which books you are referring in your institute. When we studied, it was all American books like FA 3000 series, 4000 series. And when I started studying for EASA, I realized the EASA is based on Civil Aviation Inspection Procedure, CAA. It was CAIP then. Now it is CAAIP. It's amended. It's whatever. You will get a version of it free online. Download it. Those are absolute basic standard of knowledge for any AME. The information there is so beautiful and it's so subtle. It will help you in your day-to-day life. So please remember CAAIP. It's free, and it's EASA. All the EASA exams are based on it. But forget about exams. Ultimately, what is that? What you want? Just pass the exams? No. Is that going to help you in your performance as an engineer? No. It's all this knowledge which will help you make an informed decision. Everything is in the book, in the AME, in the aircraft maintenance manual. Okay, everything is there. So the aircraft has to fly. How much can you allow? How much you can allow? Can I certify? Those are the questions you'll be asking yourself time and again. And these are the stress factors. Okay. How will you come to a decision whether this is right? By making informed decisions. So what is this informed decision? It's all these knowledge that you will gain over the period of years. And that is what will help you. So seek knowledge. This is what it is.
I think there were a couple of hands, raised hands. Please come ahead and ask the questions, please.
Hello, sir. Myself, Saranarajan, and I would like to ask a question, but not from the student's point of view, from the parents' point of view.
Yes.
Like first thing, I had to go to Bangalore for a small work last month, but I asked them to go in airplane, but they said after 8 months of grounded, all the airplanes are being grounded for 8 months. We can't expect the airplanes to be like maintained well for this 8 months, and it is not safety. So, but we know that the maintenance engineers take extreme care and work to have those aircraft perfectly ready. But we want the parents to be known, like if we share a few things which is there done being done once the aircraft operation is open, like if you share those things, it will be useful for us to answer our parents' concerns.
I'm sorry, I could not get the gist of the question. I realize you're asking about aircraft being grounded and they still have to be maintained.
Yes, sir.
Even
like
while on ground.
Yes, sir. We have seen few incidents where there 2 or 3 emergency landings have been done as soon as the operations are being open in India. Like, is it because of the low maintenance or something?
No. I no. That see, first of all, I don't know about the cases that you are saying. But that is it's all case to case basis. So we need to wait for an inquiry about what exactly happened and how it happened. But if everything is been maintained, because we have something called a preservation schedule. If an aircraft is not scheduled to fly or not rated to fly, there are preservation schedules recommended in the aircraft maintenance manual. We preserve the engine and the other rotable components with some kind of either engine oil or some kind of preservative fluid. So there is a very dedicated preservation schedule for the aircraft which are grounded. And before they fly, there is another dedicated procedure of depreservation. So I'm sure all that must have been done on that aircraft, and there is, I don't think you should be thinking about that kind of like what could have caused that emergency landing, or it's very hard to say what exactly caused it. We have to wait for the inquiry to come out and what happened. And these are components. You have a light bulb in your home. कभी भी बंद हो जाता है ना, क्या करते हैं? जाके नया बल्ब लाके डाल देते हैं ना. ये मशीन है, कभी भी होता है. Sometimes you get a new bulb. In 2 days it will fuse out. क्या करोगे इसको? What will you blame?
Thank you so much, sir. And if someone have any other queries, can raise your queries to me, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you so much for sharing your experience, sir. It is really great. The websites you have shared and the information you have shared, we'll never get it anywhere if you don't search for it. And those are really inspiring words from you, sir. Thank you so much for your words.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.